Okay, we've got another next expert interview for Killer Content. I'm speaking to Amelia Campbell. Amelia,
Yeah,
Emily Ann Campbell, as I know you on Facebook.
yeah. Amelia, Amy Ann Campbell.
Amy,
Amy's actually a nickname I had since I was a kid, but I don't use it anymore, so
all
it's
right,
Amelia.
okay. So we haven't actually spoken before. We're only on Facebook. We've been around. We've got some mutual friends.
Yeah,
Quite often, this is the way it happens. This incredible way that we meet new people these days.
sure. Yeah.
As you know, I'm interviewing a bunch of people that I respect from a huge variety of areas and niches in the world, not all from marketing or business, because I really want to explore what makes great content and how we can inspire the world to give up making stuff that's just good enough, because that isn't good enough anymore, and to make things that are exceptional, that inspire people, that generate action, and are really worthwhile doing. So I don't know exactly what you do. I think did you invite me to present at one of your events
I did, yeah.
last year?
Yeah, I've been running spiritual networking events for about 3 years now. I'm a spiritual teacher, therapist, a bunch of stuff really. Yeah, I won't list everything. But yeah, sorry, carry on. What were you going to say?
No, that's just it really. So you run. Okay, please can you talk about spiritual networking, because that might be a very new term to some people.
Sure. Well, I had a pretty profound experience a couple of years ago, which I've had lots of different experiences, spiritual experiences, we could call them. And it kind of transformed the way that I see my life and my priorities and what I wanted to share with the world. And it also expanded my view of what's possible. So
Okay.
I expanded my realms of possibilities. All of a sudden, the four walls of the house kind of started to fall away, and it was like there is a big world out there, and actually, we don't need to be small in the world. We're here to be who we truly are, and to share that with everybody, the deepest part of our being. And it can take people a long time to discover who they truly are, because a lot of people fall into the trap of doing things because other people think they should, instead of following their own truth. So my idea of great content is following your truth and really staying clear to that within yourself, and sharing the creativity that we are. We are this boundless creativity, and when we stay in the moment, when we really bring ourselves into what's happening right now, then literally the whole of the universal creative energy is flowing through us. And that's a great opportunity. We are instruments of creativity, if you like.
Yeah. Do you know, this is really resonating. I've only done half a dozen of these interviews, but the same kinds of things that you've just described are already coming up again and again. So what were you doing before this
I've
realization?
well, I've had quite an interesting life, really. When I was 6, I was on a commune in America for 3 months with an enlightened master, Osho. So that was, and I had a profound experience before I left to go there as well. A realization that everything around us is a part of us. So we are all key players, really. So when we say great content, we're all key players. We all have our part to play in creating this world. So yeah, going back to what you said before, I started to run the events. I was doing a complementary therapy degree, a foundation degree, because again, I felt that my healing gifts wouldn't be taken seriously unless I had some kind of piece of paper or a few letters that I could put at the end of my name. Now, again, I realize that, that actually isn't the truth. it's a way that we've been molded by society to kind of fit into something. And that's something else that I've found that's really started to fall away with me is the rules and regulations around us and how restricting they are to our own creativity and to our own truth, ultimately.
That's one of these themes that we're already starting to see is, the great content, and content seems like such a small word sometimes, but great messages or works, whatever it is that we create, great creativity. We could put it that way. It doesn't come with looking around at what everyone else is doing.
No, and it's not about comparing yourself to someone else either. The whole point in the fact that we are here, our very existence, means that we have a purpose, and it means we have something to share with the whole world, with the whole of the universe. That's the whole point in being here.
Yeah, and at the same time, the flip side of that, or kind of going the full circle, is people trying to be different or trying to be unique. And the trying almost defeats the object. I remember growing up in Sheffield, got 2 universities, and September every year I would see these people turn up, and they were all trying so hard to look individual that it was almost a uniform. They all had black Dr. Martens and purple leggings, and they'd all had a piercing over the summer holidays since they finished their A-levels, and the kind of baggy jumper, semi-goth type. This is in the 90s. And they look bloody same. It's like, really. So everyone's had their hair dreadlocked over the summer, really. Seriously, But it's not about trying. I think is the point that I'm making.
No, think about that word trying. It actually means that nothing's happening, because if you try to do something, you're not actually doing it.
Yeah, try to raise your right hand.
Yeah, exactly. And there's your answer. It's not happening. No, you've either got to do it or not do it, and it's making that decision.
So what were the? I'm following. Interested because I'm following through the story, because there must be stuff that influenced you, content in a way that brought about this transformation for you. How did it come around?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Well, I think it was a destiny. I think it was a part of my destiny. I knew as a very young child that I wanted to be a part of a utopian society, if you like, and I never really let go of that as a concept. It was always with me, and then ironically we went to live on the ranch in Oregon, and that actually is heralded today as the most successful community that was ever created, although it did have quite an interesting ending. But that's how it goes. Everything that's created ends at some point, or transforms into something new, shall we say. And that was definitely a stepping stone for me. Both my parents very spiritual. My dad was very influential in the fact that he actually managed Deva and Miten, and they do mantra music. He managed them for about 16 years. So I've always been in an environment around people who were complementary therapists, very creative, individual, multi-talented, beings of light, really. That's really the way it's been. But of course, then I've had, I've done the normal stuff too, like living with my ex and having my son, and then coming out of it all for a few years and not having anything to do with anything, really. And then finding through just the way life is, really, the path that's kind of set out before us, that I had to come back to it. It was like you can by denying aspects of yourself, you can actually make yourself quite poorly, quite ill. So, and that's really what the term loving yourself means as well. It's about embracing all aspects of yourself, whether you like them or not. And that includes, the spiritual side, and obviously that means different things to different people. Hobbies, being creative, all those kind of things that have to be included. They can't be excluded because they're a part of our purpose, if you like.
Don't deny it. Acceptance.
Yeah.
Love is acceptance.
Yeah, it's very much acceptance. Acceptance is a big key to transformation.
What happened for you? Was there an event or anything
there was a number of things. There was a number of things that happened over a period of time, and I don't feel we've got time to go into all of them. So maybe I will just focus on the one that I could say was maybe like the real tipping point. And that was what happened after I finished my degree. I was speaking to a friend actually on Skype. She was going to come and do one of my spiritual gatherings. And as I closed the laptop, I realized that things weren't quite the same when I went to pick up my cup of tea. How to get this across? It's really quite beyond the mind, but I'll try and do my best for people to understand. But I picked up my cup of tea and I literally fell into the tea. There was no kind of barrier between me, where I began, and where the tea in the cup began. And then I remember standing up, and everything kind of went, just, there was nothing, nothingness, if you like. And I saw that I was that there was nothing else. In the absolute reality, there was nothing else. Just this consciousness, no body, no form, no house, no, nothing here. And I also, after that, then it was very clear that the walls of the house were kind of moving and vibrating with energy, so there was no solidity around me. I also understood there was a deep understanding of the mind and the way that the mind is creating all the suffering in the world, and the way that the mind is conditioned. It really puts people in a state of suffering, and I could see that suffering wasn't real. It wasn't the truth. It wasn't the ultimate absolute truth of our experience, and that we are not suffering. We are not our minds. We are not our bodies. We are not our thoughts. Even, we're the vehicle where all those things flow through, and we experience them, including our emotions.
You do not have a soul. You are a soul. You have a body.
Yeah, exactly. We're spiritual beings, learning to be in a body. Learning to embody this body as a spiritual being, really.
So then, looking at life after that event, after that experience, how did that affect the way that you communicate with the world?
Well, the first thing that I wanted to do was share it, but I didn't know how to, and I didn't actually really know what happened. And it took me a year or so of digesting and marinating, and kind of, the thing with these experiences is they come and go, and when they happen at that moment for a purpose, for our growth. And what I felt was really important was to share that message. And it wasn't about standing on a stage and shouting it. It was about creating an environment where I could do meditation, where I could share the essence of that. And I didn't advertise, I didn't make it obvious, because, again, I didn't really know. I didn't really understand what had happened. I mean, I was on my own here at the time. And I also had another part of that experience which was pretty profound, which was when I went downstairs and there happened to be an apple in my bag, and I took it out. And again, the same thing happened that happened with the cup. I just totally fell into this apple, and I saw that, I saw the real, I guess, the meaning of oneness. I'd said that word before, and I'd understood it on an intellectual way, but of course that's not, that again, that's the mind. So it was having the experience and knowing it on the deepest level of your being. It's very transformational. You can't undo that. You can't say, "Oh, that didn't happen." It's too profound.
So I guess in the world of spirituality, and there's a huge, obviously, industry around spiritual
and there's
growth,
a lot of charlatans too. There's a whole thing that's based on the idea that someone can save someone can help someone, and someone can fix somebody, and that's all well and good. And I think there are ways that people can help people, but you cannot fix someone. We're all on our own journeys. We're all heading the same way. We're all enlightenment is actually our goal, really. To embody ourselves fully as spiritual beings in our body on this planet, not in a cave somewhere. That's why we're here. That's the ultimate learning.
So do you discern between material and content that you see in this sector?
Yeah, sure. And I've also had, people have really pointed the finger at me at times, and that's been interesting because what can you do? Everyone has their own truth. Everyone's having their own experience. What's true for one is not necessarily going to be true for another, because they haven't had that, they haven't experienced that, or they're experiencing something totally different.
Okay. So could you have something in, maybe could be from, because I was talking to Marion yesterday. She was talking about that she draws from ancient Sanskrit texts and traditional Chinese medicine, in even with things like helping people to overcome fear of speaking in public, right? So we were talking about, well, maybe some great content is, there's ancient content that's great content, but
as far as speaking in public goes, my understanding is if you take yourself out of the equation, you can do anything. If it's not about me, it's about everybody, it's about serving, then what's there to fear, really.
And what I'm thinking is, if you are completely aligned with your message and your message is completely aligned with you, there is no distinction. You are the message.
Yeah. Which we all are.
So you're not trying to do anything. You're not pretending anything. You're not delivering anything. You're actually being it and emanating what you are. So back to my question: do you think that you could have content in the spiritual or wisdom area that is great content for the right ears, and for somebody else it could be complete bollocks?
Yes. You know why? Because of the levels of perception. And that's our growth, our spiritual growth means that we see things from a certain perspective. And after different experiences, the way we perceive changes and shifts. So yes, a book to one person or a film to one person, and then to someone else who's experienced that or understands that, those two people are going to have very different reactions it's like any spiritual text. I mean, the Bible, for example, can be totally misinterpreted. I've never studied it. I won't profess to, but and this is really this is quite a key thing. Is everything's open to interpretation, and it depends where people are coming from. It depends on their understanding and perception.
Yeah, it reminds me, there's a parable in the New Testament about the parable of the sower who sows the seed, and depending on where it falls, it either grows or the crows eat it or whatever. But the sower just sows.
Exactly.
And that's the message of whatever message.
Yeah, that's it. You do it, you just get on with it. You be yourself and you share who you are to be here.
How do you be yourself? Because this is really one of the keys. This is coming up again and again and again. What do I need to do to be myself?
Nothing. you just allow and be in a state of awareness and acceptance, and allow the universe to show you the way. Because when we're so conditioned to try and control everything all the time, down to what's happening tomorrow or whatever it is. But actually, when we take a step back and we let go of that control, we notice that something is happening anyway. Something's always happening. The magic, the magic that's here all around us. Again, it's that essence of us, of creativity, and it's continuously happening. There is nothing we actually need to do in order to make that happen. It's going to happen anyway. It flows through each and every one of us in every moment. Sorry, I kind of forgot what you said for a minute.
That's perfect. Look, we're just walking together, walking on the path. That's all we're doing.
Yeah.
No, I'd have thought, and then I was listening to what you were saying, and the thought went. Let me see if it comes back.
Great.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Attachment to an outcome.
No.
We're conditioned to measure results. You've got to have a goal. You've got to have an earning revenue target. It's got to be smart, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-based. What I'm finding, because I've transformed my business not last year or so, and I'm finding I just goals do not have a place. My business has now become a journey, and I don't even. Somebody said on an earlier call, you know the direction, you want to go, and then you start. And that's it. You don't know where you're going to end up. No,
we never, ever know. We cannot even know what's going to happen in the next moment. We can't. Again, that's about control, isn't it? A goal. I'm going to achieve this. I'm going to do that. Life happens, And then what happens when you focus on the goal? You miss everything that's happening now. And now is where the magic is. You become
significant as well. I think there's something about being, when you're attached to something and your self-importance is attached to that thing. Then
you're kind of giving away your power to something that's not necessarily ever going to happen. And whenever you attach yourself to something, it's kind of holding you back. Actually, you're not allowing yourself to just be.
So what are some of the most powerful messages that have ever come to you? And why were they powerful, do you think? Why were they great content?
Well, one of the main things is the importance of the connection that we all have with each other. And when we take action with with service in mind, not towards ourselves but towards everybody, and I think that is that's really important. And again, that takes us out of the equation. That takes away the need for a goal or an achievement or success. What does that mean anyway? What is success? What makes somebody successful?
Yeah, it's arbitrary.
The most important things in life are love and connection, and creating beautiful things to share with people. That's what I feel, when you leave the planet, you don't want to be known for what you were successful at, really, unless it helped people in some way, unless it transformed the world in some beautiful way,
So
sorry,
selflessness.
I know.
But maybe, even without being deliberately and consciously selfless, just do it. Just let it go.
Yeah, and the other side to that too is sometimes being selfish is a great thing, because it's a bit of a paradox, but when we put our own needs first, when we love ourselves, we look after ourselves, then we can give more. Then we have so much more to give. But we can't do that if we deny taking care of who we are. I think that's a mistake a lot of, well, I don't know, mistake. I don't really believe in mistakes, but, it's something that people do, particularly in the healing world, if you like. That kind of,
Brilliant. Any points of advice, any closing thoughts for people who, feel inspired that they want to do something that makes a genuine difference? Anything we haven't covered?
Share themselves. Share the beauty, the difficulties, the concerns. Just share, because it helps others to understand themselves. It helps others share those aspects. So do it. What about boundaries on sharing? Because I'm sure we all know people who have exposed themselves so much, or been in. I was in a community once where it wasn't tolerated to have private thoughts, and I know other people who've grown up in like psychological communities in a similar way, and I just wonder, how do you decide what gets shared and what doesn't? That's a good question. I think it's just about being honest with yourself. It's not about, most important person to be honest with is yourself, because you're the only person that's really going to understand you anyway. Everyone else has got their perceptions of who you are, or who they want you to be, or who you are according to them. So we can never be what other people want us to be. That's just a non-starter. I think it's really just about connecting to that. Sharing
and just trusting it.
Absolutely trusting.
If we start sharing, maybe sharing vulnerabilities, sharing issues that I don't know. I just get the feeling that
vulnerabilities is great. Why? Because we're all vulnerable.
Yeah.
And yet no one wants to admit it. But we're all sensitive beings. And when someone gives someone else the permission to be vulnerable, it's a freedom. There's a freedom in that. And that's what it's about too, being free, being yourself.
Yeah. But I'm sure there's also a line beyond which you're kind of just gratuitously sharing. Almost. I don't know. I guess I can't relate to that, maybe. I shared part of my experience in a couple of videos recently, and they've been quite well received. But again, I had people say all sorts of things, what you could consider negative. But I just understand that that's where they're coming from. And if they don't get it, they don't get it. And that's fine. It's not for them. And there's no problem with that, Yeah, you can't please everybody.
And why should we even try to, Again, there's no point.
Yeah, I have this theory that if we try and create anything that's acceptable to everybody, it will inspire no one.
No, it's never going to work anyway. It's impossible, because everyone's coming from somewhere else. We literally all live in our own mini universe. And where our body is, our universe starts. Our experience is where our body is, and we're all experiencing that, and it's all quite different for each one of us.
So I'm kind of getting this feeling that what we can do is share whatever it feels appropriate to share, with our people, and knowing that not everybody is our people. We share it. Some may hear it, and
you can be sure
they'll do what they do with it. We don't expect everyone to accept it, like it. None of that matters. There's no significance about it all.
You can be sure that whoever needs to hear it will hear it, and it will help them in some way. That's how the universe works, always.
Brilliant. That's a beautiful way to end. Amelia,
Thanks so much.
thank you.
Lovely.